The exhibition hall buzzed with voices from 100 different species. Creatures with scales, fur, and metallic skin moved between display platforms showing off their latest weapons technology. Energy shields hummed, plasma rifles glowed with contained power, and antimatter charges sat safely behind force fields. This year's Galactic Weapons exhibition on Meridian 7 had attracted representatives from every major civilization in the known galaxy. David Reed walked through the crowd carrying a long metal case. His simple human appearance drew curious glances from the more exotic aliens around him. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 5 years ago, and most species still considered humans to be newcomers with little to offer. David wore a plain gray uniform with Earth's blue and green emblem on his shoulder. Behind him, Dr. Alina Ross carried a tablet filled with technical data. "Look at the humans," a voice hissed nearby. David glanced over to see Commander Vorik, a tall reptilian officer from the Sarkin Empire. His scales gleamed dark green under the hall lights and his yellow eyes narrowed with amusement. "I wonder what primitive tools they brought to show us." Other aliens nearby laughed. The Sarkin were known for their military strength and advanced weapon systems. Vorik commanded 3 battle fleets and had personally overseen the conquest of 12 star systems. He did not think highly of species that had barely left their home planet. David ignored the comment and continued to his assigned display platform. The area was smaller than those given to the major powers, tucked between a Chitauri plasma cannon demonstration and a Mordak gravity weapon display. He set down his case and began unpacking. "Attention, delegates," a mechanical voice announced through the hall. "Demonstrations will begin in 30 minutes. Please prepare your exhibits." Alina checked her tablet. "We're scheduled for the 3rd round of demonstrations. That gives us time to calibrate." David nodded and opened the metal case. Inside, nested in protective foam, lay what looked like an ancient Earth crossbow. The weapon had a wooden stock, limbs that curved backward, and a simple trigger mechanism. However, closer inspection revealed subtle differences. The limbs were wrapped in metallic coils and small panels covered parts of the stock. "Is that a toy?" Vorik had moved closer, his delegation following behind him. "Did the humans bring a museum piece to a weapons exhibition?" The Sarkin commander's laughter echoed across the hall. Soon, other aliens gathered around to see what the commotion was about. A Chitauri ambassador named Trell approached, his insectoid features showing polite curiosity. Unlike Vorik, Trell preferred diplomacy to mockery. "Interesting design," Trell said, his mandibles clicking softly. "I am not familiar with this weapon type." "It's called a crossbow," David explained calmly. "Humans developed it thousands of years ago. It launches projectiles using mechanical tension." Vorik snorted. "Mechanical tension? While we perfected energy weapons, you were throwing sticks at each other." "The crossbow was very effective in its time," Alina added, reading from her tablet. "It could pierce armor and had excellent range for pre-industrial technology." "Pre-industrial," Vorik repeated, turning to his officers. "They admit it is ancient technology, and they brought it here to show alongside our antimatter cannons and plasma disruptors." More aliens gathered now, drawn by the unusual sight. Some looked confused, others amused. A few of the more scholarly species showed genuine interest in the historical artifact. David continued setting up, placing the crossbow on a stand and attaching diagnostic equipment. "Permission to ask a question," said a small, furry delegate from the Pelan Unity. "Why would Earth send an ancient weapon to this exhibition? Surely you have more advanced technology." David looked up and smiled. "We do. But we wanted to demonstrate something important about human engineering philosophy." "Philosophy?" Vorik laughed again. "This is a weapons demonstration, not a philosophy lecture. We are here to show power, capability, and technological advancement. What does your ancient stick thrower demonstrate?" "Patience," David replied. "You'll see during our presentation." The Sarkin commander shook his head and walked away, his delegation following. Other aliens dispersed as well, returning to their own exhibits. Only Trell remained, his compound eyes studying the crossbow with interest. "There is more to this weapon than appears," Trell observed quietly. "You are too confident for someone displaying obsolete technology." David smiled but said nothing. He removed a bolt from the case, and even this drew attention. The projectile was thick, almost as wide as a human thumb and clearly made from dense metal. It weighed heavy in David's hand as he showed it to Trell. 2 kilograms, Alina said. Tungsten carbide composite, Much denser than the original wooden bolts. Trell's antennae twitched. That is quite heavy for a handheld weapon projectile. It needs to be, David said, loading the bolt into the crossbow's firing channel. The first demonstration began across the hall. A Mordak officer activated a gravity rifle that crushed a target dummy into a compressed ball of metal. The audience applauded politely. Next, the Chitauri showed their plasma cannon, which vaporized another target in a flash of superheated gas. More applause followed. Finally, the announcer called for the third demonstration. Next, we have David Reed from Earth representing humanity. Please clear the demonstration area. David picked up the crossbow and walked to the firing range. Behind him, Alina carried additional equipment. The target was a standard military-grade energy shield, the same type used by most galactic military forces. It could stop plasma bolts, energy beams, and most projectile weapons traveling at conventional speeds. This should be entertaining, Vorik said loudly from the crowd. Let us see what the ancient stick thrower can do against modern shielding. David reached the firing line and turned to face the audience. Hundreds of aliens watched, most with expressions of barely concealed amusement. He raised the crossbow, and for a moment the entire hall seemed to hold its breath. David stood at the firing line with the crossbow resting against his shoulder. The weapon felt solid in his hands, much heavier than its ancient predecessors. Behind him, hundreds of alien delegates watched with varying degrees of interest and amusement. The target shield hummed softly 50 meters away, its energy field creating a faint blue glow in the air. Before I demonstrate, David said, his voice carrying across the hall, I'd like to explain some history. Groans and muttered complaints rippled through the audience. Commander Vorik crossed his scaled arms over his chest. We did not come here for a history lesson, human. Show us what your primitive weapon can do or step aside. David ignored the comment. The crossbow was invented on Earth over 2,000 years ago. It revolutionized warfare because it allowed common soldiers to defeat armored knights. A peasant with a crossbow could kill a warrior who had trained his entire life. Fascinating, Vorik said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. And we invented plasma weapons 5,000 years ago. Shall I bore you with their complete history as well? Some aliens laughed. Others shifted impatiently, eager to move on to more impressive demonstrations. Only a few, like Ambassador Trell, watched David with careful attention. Alina stepped forward with her tablet. The original crossbow used mechanical tension from bent wooden or composite limbs. The energy was stored when the string was pulled back, then released when the trigger was pressed. The bolt could travel at speeds up to 90 meters per second. 90 meters per second, repeated a Mordak officer. Our standard plasma rifles fire at 12,000 meters per second. This is indeed primitive. It was, David agreed. But humans have a saying. If something works, make it better. If it's old, prove it's not obsolete. He turned the crossbow slightly so the audience could see it better. We never abandoned the crossbow concept. We simply improved it. Over centuries, we developed better materials, better designs, and better understanding of physics. Physics we have known for millennia. Vorik interrupted again. You speak as if you discovered something new. Not discovered, David corrected. Applied differently. He nodded to Alina, who tapped her tablet. A holographic display appeared above them, showing the evolution of human projectile weapons. Ancient crossbows gave way to firearms, then to more advanced designs. The progression moved through centuries of development, each iteration more sophisticated than the last. Firearms used chemical energy, David explained. Gunpowder explosions propelled bullets at high speeds. This was effective for hundreds of years. Then we developed railguns. The hologram showed a long weapon with visible magnetic coils along its barrel. Several aliens leaned forward with renewed interest. Railgun technology was well known in the galaxy, typically used for large ship-mounted weapons or planetary defense systems. Yes, railguns, Vorik said impatiently. Electromagnetic acceleration of projectiles. We use them on our battleships. They're too large and power-hungry for infantry use. Is this your demonstration? To tell us that humans also understand basic magnetic acceleration? Not exactly, David said. He raised the crossbow again, and this time several aliens noticed something they had missed before. The limbs of the weapon were not simple bent materials. They contained coiled wiring, and small panels along the stock showed digital readouts. This crossbow uses the same principles as the original design, David continued. But instead of bent limbs storing mechanical energy, we store electrical energy in supercapacitors built into the frame. The limbs contain magnetic acceleration coils. When I pull the trigger, the capacitors discharge through the coils, creating a powerful electromagnetic field. The hall became quieter. Some of the more scientifically minded aliens were beginning to understand. You built a railgun to look like a crossbow, Trell said, his antennae quivering. Why? Because humans respect our history, Alina answered. We don't throw away old designs just because new technology exists. We merge them. The crossbow shape is familiar, comfortable, and proven over thousands of years. The railgun technology makes it devastatingly powerful. David pointed to the bolt loaded in the weapon. This projectile weighs 2 kilograms. It's made from tungsten carbide composite, one of the densest materials we can manufacture. The magnetic coils will accelerate it to hypersonic speeds. Hypersonic? A Pelon delegate squeaked. How fast? Approximately 4,000 meters per second, Alina said, reading from her tablet. About 4 times the speed of sound in Earth's atmosphere. Calculations ran through the minds of the alien observers. A 2-kilogram projectile at 4,000 meters per second carried enormous kinetic energy, far more than most infantry weapons in the galaxy. Fork's confident expression faltered slightly. Impossible, the Sarkin commander declared. A handheld weapon cannot generate sufficient power for such acceleration. The recoil alone would break the bones of the user. The capacitors handle the power, David explained. They charge from standard power cells over about 30 seconds. As for recoil, the weapon uses a magnetic damping system and a stock designed to distribute force across the user's body. It's manageable for a trained human. Prove it, Fork demanded. Enough talk. Fire your weapon, David smiled. Gladly. But first I need everyone to step behind the reinforced safety barriers. This caused some confusion. Most weapons demonstrations did not require special safety measures beyond the standard shields around the firing range. The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. Is that really necessary? Asked a Chitauri officer. Yes, Alina said firmly. The bolt carries significant kinetic energy. If it penetrates the target shield, it will continue downrange with lethal force. Please move to the designated safe areas. Slowly, reluctantly, the aliens moved behind thick, transparent barriers at the sides of the hall. Fork remained in place longer than others, unwilling to show concern. Finally, even he stepped behind a barrier, though his expression showed clear skepticism. David noticed that the few other humans present in the hall had quietly moved to the most reinforced observation positions. They knew what was coming. Range is clear, announced the safety officer, a mechanical construct with multiple sensors. You may fire when ready. David took a breath and raised the crossbow to his shoulder. His finger found the trigger. The weapon began to hum, a low sound that grew steadily louder as the capacitors charged. Small lights along the stock changed from red to yellow to green. The magnetic coils in the limbs started to glow faintly. The humming grew into a whine that made several aliens cover their auditory organs. Energy crackled along the weapon's surface, visible arcs of electricity dancing between contact points. The air around David seemed to vibrate. Weapon charged, Alina announced. Firing in 3, 2, 1. David squeezed the trigger. The sound came first, a crack that split the air like thunder in an enclosed space. The tungsten bolt left the crossbow's channel faster than most eyes could track, creating a sonic boom that rattled display cases across the hall. The shockwave from the hypersonic projectile knocked over several lighter pieces of equipment and sent papers flying. The bolt hit the target shield dead center. For a fraction of a second, the energy field tried to stop the incoming projectile. The shield glowed bright blue, then white, as it poured all its power into deflecting the 2-kilogram mass traveling at 4,000 meters per second. The field generator screamed with overload warnings, then the shield failed. The bolt punched through like the shield wasn't even there. It continued through the air, leaving a visible trail of superheated gas. Behind the first shield stood 3 backup barriers, each one rated for military combat. The bolt went through the first backup shield without slowing. The second shield lasted slightly longer but still shattered. The third shield managed to slow the projectile marginally before it too collapsed. Beyond the shield stood a reinforced concrete wall, 3 meters thick, designed to stop any weapon that might accidentally overshoot during demonstrations. The bolt hit the wall with another thunderous impact. Chunks of concrete exploded outward. The projectile bored through the entire wall and kept going. On the other side of that wall was solid bedrock, the natural stone of Meridian 7. The bolt buried itself 20 meters into the rock before finally stopping. The entire building shook from the impact. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling. Several aliens were knocked to the ground by the tremors. Then silence fell. David lowered the crossbow. Smoke rose from its barrel and coils. The weapon's cooling systems activated automatically, venting heat through side ports. The capacitors were completely drained, their indicator lights dark. David's shoulder would probably be bruised from the recoil, even with the dampening systems, but his stance had held firm. Behind the safety barriers, hundreds of aliens stood frozen in shock. Their eyes, stalks, sensors, and various other visual organs all focused on the perfectly circular holes, punched through 4 shields and a reinforced wall. The destruction was absolute and terrifying. Commander Vorik stared at the damage, his mouth hanging open. His scales had paled to a sickly yellow-green color. One of his officers was on the ground, having fainted during the demonstration. Ambassador Trell was the first to move. He approached the barriers cautiously, his antennae vibrating rapidly. "By the ancient hive," he whispered. "That was a handheld weapon?" "Yes," David replied calmly, setting the crossbow back on its stand. The weapon was still too hot to pack away. A human infantry weapon. Every soldier in Earth's military is trained to use one. "Every soldier?" repeated a Pilon delegate, her voice barely audible. "You have how many soldiers?" "About 50 million in active service," Alina answered, checking her tablet. "Another 200 million in reserves, all trained with railgun weapons." The math was simple but horrifying for the assembled aliens. 50 million soldiers carrying weapons that could punch through anything short of battleship armor. The implications were staggering. Vorik finally found his voice. That cannot be legal under Galactic Weapons Treaty provisions. Such destructive power in an infantry weapon violates multiple accords. "Actually, it doesn't," Alina said, pulling up documents on her tablet. She projected them for everyone to see. According to Galactic Treaty 447, paragraph 12, weapons using purely kinetic energy are exempt from power restrictions if they use no antimatter, exotic matter, or banned energy types. This weapon uses only electromagnetic acceleration and a solid projectile. Completely legal. "But the damage," a Chitauri officer protested. "It's greater than most vehicle-mounted weapons." "Greater than some ship weapons," Trell corrected quietly. "I have seen frigate cannons do less damage." David walked to where the safety officer was examining the destroyed shields. The mechanical construct ran scans and calculations, its sensors working overtime. "Preliminary analysis complete," it announced. Projectile impact delivered approximately 16 million joules of kinetic energy. Shield failure was instantaneous. Concrete penetration exceeded all safety protocols. Recommend immediate review of demonstration range specifications. 16 million joules. The number spread through the crowd in whispers and translated clicks. For comparison, a standard Galactic infantry plasma rifle delivered about 1 million joules per shot. David's crossbow had hit with 16 times that force. "How?" Vorik asked, approaching slowly. His earlier arrogance was completely gone. "How can a species that only achieved spaceflight 20 years ago develop such a weapon?" "We've been developing it for over 100 years, David explained. "Railgun theory isn't new. The challenge was making them small enough and power-efficient enough for individual use. It took decades of work on supercapacitor technology, magnetic coil efficiency, and materials science." "But why?" Trell asked. "Most species develop energy weapons because they are more practical. Lighter ammunition, easier to supply, no need to carry heavy projectiles." David smiled. "That's thinking like species who never had resource scarcity. Humans developed on a single planet with limited materials. We learned to make every shot count. A tungsten bolt can be recovered and reused if it doesn't fragment. Energy is cheap, but materials matter. Besides," Alina added, "kinetic weapons have advantages. They can't be deflected by magnetic fields. They work in any atmosphere or in vacuum. They don't produce heat signatures that give away your position. And as you just saw, they are extremely effective against energy shielding." A Mordak general pushed through the crowd. His species were known for their military expertise and had some of the galaxy's finest warriors. "The recoil," he said, studying David carefully. "You absorbed the recoil of that weapon. Our species are stronger than humans, yet I do not think I could fire that weapon and remain standing." "Training and design," David said. "The magnetic dampening system absorbs about 60% of the recoil. The rest is channeled through the stock into the user's body. Humans train for months to build the muscle strength and technique needed. It's not comfortable, but it's manageable. Show us the weapon, Vorik demanded. His tone was no longer mocking but urgent, almost desperate. I need to see its internal systems. David glanced at Alina, who shook her head. Sorry, Commander. The detailed schematics are classified Earth military technology. We can provide general specifications but not construction details. Vorik's face twisted in frustration. This changes everything. Your species appears on the galactic stage with weapons that make our standard infantry arms look like toys. The balance of power remains balanced, David interrupted firmly. We're not here to threaten anyone. We came to demonstrate that Earth can contribute to galactic defense, that we're not the primitive species some believe us to be. He looked directly at Vorik when he said this. The Sarkin commander had the grace to look ashamed. The crossbow design was chosen specifically to make a point, Alina said. Humans don't abandon old ideas just because they're old. We improve them, refine them, and combine them with new technology. The crossbow is thousands of years old, but this version is cutting edge. Cutting edge is an understatement, Trell said, still staring at the destruction. I must report this to the Council immediately. They need to understand what Earth brings to our alliance. Other delegates were already making calls, sending messages, and recording data. The demonstration had accomplished exactly what Earth intended. Nobody would mock human weapons technology again. Within an hour, the demonstration hall had transformed into an emergency council meeting. Exhibition displays were pushed aside to make room for hastily arranged seating. Representatives from every major galactic power squeezed into the space, all demanding answers about Earth's weapons capabilities. The scheduled demonstrations for the day were canceled. Nobody cared about standard plasma rifles anymore. David sat at a central table with Alina beside him. Around them, military officers, ambassadors, and weapons analysts from dozens of species argued in multiple languages. Translation devices struggled to keep up with the overlapping conversations. The air smelled of tension and various alien biochemistries mixing unpleasantly. Commander Vorik stood and called for order. Despite his earlier humiliation, or perhaps because of it, he had taken charge of the emergency session. We need answers, he announced, his voice cutting through the noise. The humans have demonstrated a weapon that exceeds our standard infantry arms by an order of magnitude. This raises serious questions about galactic security and military balance. Are you suggesting Earth is a threat? Asked a human admiral named Patricia Hill. She had arrived from Earth's embassy compound as soon as word of the demonstration spread. Her gray uniform bore multiple service medals, and her expression showed no fear of the assembled alien powers. I am suggesting we need information. Vorik replied carefully. How many such weapons does Earth possess? What other technologies have you developed? And why did you wait until now to reveal these capabilities? Patricia looked to David, who nodded and stood to address the council. Earth has approximately 80 million railgun infantry weapons in active service, he said. We've been manufacturing them for 30 years. As for why we waited to demonstrate them, the answer is simple. Nobody asked. The room erupted in protests and shouted questions. A Chitauri ambassador had to bang his staff on the floor repeatedly to restore order. Nobody asked, Vorik repeated incredulously. You joined the Galactic Council 5 years ago. In that time, you've participated in 17 military cooperation meetings and submitted dozens of weapon specifications for treaty compliance. You listed railgun technology but described it as experimental and limited to ship-mounted systems. That was accurate at the time, Alina interjected. 5 years ago, our infantry railguns were still experimental. We spent those 5 years perfecting the design and manufacturing enough units to equip our forces. The weapons only entered full service 8 months ago. And the other technologies? Pressed a Mordak general. What else have you developed that we don't know about? David glanced at Patricia, who gave a slight nod. Earth has been working on multiple weapons programs based on what we call adaptive evolution technology. We take proven historical designs and upgrade them with modern physics and materials. The railgun crossbow is just one example. He gestured to Alina, who activated her tablet. New holographic displays appeared showing various weapons. The assembled aliens leaned forward, their earlier skepticism replaced by intense focus. This is a coil gun rifle, David explained, pointing to a weapon that resembled an ancient Earth musket. It uses similar magnetic acceleration principles but with a longer barrel for greater accuracy at extended range. Effective range of 5 kilometers with armor-piercing rounds. Murmurs spread through the crowd. 5 kilometers was sniper range, far beyond what most species considered possible for infantry weapons. This is a Gauss pistol, David continued, showing a weapon styled like an old revolver. 6-shot capacity, uses smaller projectiles but still delivers enough energy to penetrate standard body armor. Every Earth officer carries one as a sidearm. And this, Alina said, bringing up a new image, is our heavy weapons platform. We call it a mass driver cannon. It's technically portable, though it requires a 2-person crew and a powered exoskeleton to move. It can fire 10-kilogram projectiles at similar speeds to the Crossbow. The Mordak general stood abruptly. 10 kilograms at hypersonic speeds? That's an anti-armor weapon. That's meant to destroy vehicles, fortifications, even small spacecraft. Yes, Patricia confirmed. We designed it for exactly those purposes. Each infantry company has 2 mass driver cannons in their heavy weapons squad. This is insane, Vorik said, though his tone lacked its earlier mockery. Your entire military doctrine is based on kinetic weapons? What about energy weapons? Plasma rifles, particle beams, laser systems? We have those too, David admitted. But they're secondary systems. Our research showed that energy weapons, while effective, have limitations. They dissipate over distance, can be deflected by magnetic fields, and require constant power sources. Kinetic weapons are more reliable. More reliable, echoed a Pelan observer, and apparently more destructive. Ambassador Trell, who had been silent until now, spoke up. I believe I understand Earth's strategy. While we were optimizing energy efficiency and reducing weapon size, humans were optimizing raw destructive power, different approaches to the same problem. Exactly, Patricia said. Earth spent most of our history fighting each other. We learned that in warfare, the side with superior firepower usually wins. When we reached for the stars and discovered the galactic community, we applied the same principles. Make weapons that work, that hit hard, and that can't easily be countered. But surely you considered that this would alarm other species, said a Chitauri diplomat. Revealing such powerful weapons could make others see Earth as aggressive or dangerous. We considered it, Patricia replied. We also considered that hiding our capabilities would make us look weak. Better to show strength and earn respect than appear weak and invite aggression. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of various delegates. Let me be clear. Earth has no hostile intentions toward any member of the Galactic Council. We developed these weapons for defense, not conquest, but we will not apologize for being well armed. Vorik sat down slowly. The Sarkin Empire has the second largest military in the galaxy. We have conquered 12 systems and pacified 20 more. Our plasma weapons are considered among the finest in known space. He paused, his scales darkening with what might have been embarrassment. And I just watched a human punch through our best shields with a handheld weapon. Your plasma weapons are excellent, David said diplomatically. They have advantages over kinetic systems in many situations. This isn't about one technology being better than another. It's about different approaches. Different approaches that apparently work extremely well, Trell observed. I suspect many species will be re-evaluating their weapons programs after today. That's not our intention, Alina said quickly. We're not trying to start an arms race. Too late, a Mordak officer muttered. Every military researcher in this room is already calculating how to replicate your designs. Patricia stood. Which brings me to why we chose to demonstrate these weapons now. Earth wants to propose a mutual defense agreement with the Galactic Council, not as a junior partner or a species needing protection, but as an equal contributor to galactic security. The room fell silent. A mutual defense agreement would mean Earth's military working alongside galactic forces, sharing technology, coordinating strategies. It would make Earth a major power in galactic politics. We would need to review your complete military capabilities, Vorik said slowly. Not just infantry weapons, but ship armaments, defense systems, everything. We're prepared to provide full specifications, Patricia agreed, in exchange for similar information from council members. True partnership requires transparency. And if the council refuses, asked a Chitauri ambassador. Patricia smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. Then Earth will continue developing our weapons independently. We'll remain council members, but focus on our own defense. The choice is yours. The aliens looked at each other, communicating through various means. Silent signals passed between delegates, quick conversations happened in corners. David could see the calculations happening. Earth had just proven it could match or exceed galactic weapons technology. Refusing partnership would mean potentially facing those weapons as outsiders rather than allies. The Council will need time to deliberate, Trell finally said. This is not a decision to make hastily. But speaking personally, I believe Earth has earned the right to be heard. Agreed, Vorik said, and several other delegates nodded. We will convene a full Council session within 3 days. Earth will present its complete proposal then. Patricia nodded. We'll be ready. As the meeting broke up, David packed the crossbow back into its case. The weapon had cooled enough to handle safely. Around him, aliens clustered in groups arguing and planning. The exhibition had turned into something much larger than anyone expected. Do you think they'll accept the proposal? Alina asked quietly. David smiled. They don't really have a choice. We just showed them that underestimating humans was a mistake. They won't make that mistake twice. 3 days later, the Galactic Council convened in its main chamber on Meridian 7. The room was vast, designed to accommodate representatives from hundreds of species. Curved tiers of seating rose in a semicircle, each section dedicated to a different civilization. At the center stood a raised platform where speakers addressed the assembly. Above everything, a massive holographic display could project data, images, and live feeds from across the galaxy. Admiral Patricia Hill stood on the central platform, flanked by David Reed and Dr. Alina Ross. Behind them, a full Earth delegation occupied newly assigned seats in the Council chamber. This was the first time humanity had been invited to address the full Council, rather than just subcommittees. The chamber was packed. Every major power had sent their highest-ranking representatives. Even species that rarely attended Council sessions had shown up. Word of the weapons demonstration had spread throughout the galaxy. Everyone wanted to hear what Earth had to say. High Chancellor Mordrin called the session to order. The ancient being, whose species had founded the Galactic Council 2,000 years ago, rarely spoke at regular meetings. His presence signaled how seriously the Council took this matter. We gather to hear Earth's proposal for mutual defense partnership, Mordrin announced, his voice carrying through translation devices. Admiral Hill, you may present. Patricia stepped forward. She had rehearsed this presentation for 3 days, refining every word. Thank you, Chancellor. Earth comes before this council with respect and a proposal that benefits all members. We seek full military partnership, sharing technology, resources, and strategic coordination. Before we discuss partnership, Commander Vorik interrupted, standing in his delegations section. Earth must answer questions about weapons capabilities. The demonstration raised concerns that extend beyond a single railgun. I expected this, Patricia said calmly. Earth is prepared to provide complete disclosure of our military assets. David activated a holographic display. It showed Earth's solar system with various military installations marked. Earth maintains 3 primary defense fleets, he began. Our home fleet guards Earth itself with 50 capital ships, each mounting mass driver cannons capable of accelerating 100-kilogram projectiles to orbital speeds. Our projectile weapons use similar technology to the infantry railgun, but scaled up dramatically. The display zoomed in to show one of Earth's battleships. Unlike the sleek curved designs favored by most galactic powers, human ships were angular and heavily armored. Our capital ships sacrifice speed and elegance for armor and firepower, David explained. We call them dreadnoughts. Each one carries enough kinetic weapons to level a city from orbit. Barbaric, muttered a Chitauri officer. Effective, countered a Mordak general. I would not want to face those ships in battle. Alina took over, showing new data. Earth also maintains extensive ground-based defense systems. Every major city has railgun batteries for anti-ship defense. Our moon installations house mass drivers that can engage targets anywhere in near-Earth space. We've turned our home system into what military analysts call a fortress. And your production capacity? Asked Ambassador Trell. How quickly can you manufacture these weapons? We have 27 major weapons facilities across Earth and our colony worlds, Patricia answered. Current production is approximately 10,000 infantry railguns per month, 500 vehicle-mounted systems, and 1 capital ship mass driver every 2 months. We've been stockpiling for 5 years. The numbers stunned many delegates. Earth had been quietly building a military force that rivaled major galactic powers, while everyone dismissed them as newcomers. Why? Vorik demanded. Why build such forces? The galaxy has been at peace for decades. Who are you preparing to fight? Patricia's expression hardened. Everyone. When Earth first made contact with galactic civilization, we encountered species that had been spacefaring for thousands of years. We knew nothing about galactic politics, military capabilities, or potential threats, so we did what humans always do when facing uncertainty. We prepared for the worst. You prepared to fight the entire galaxy? A Pelan delegate sounded horrified. We prepared to defend ourselves against anyone, Patricia corrected. There's a difference. Human history taught us that appearing weak invites aggression. We chose to appear strong instead. And now? Mordrin asked. What does Earth want? Partnership, Patricia said simply. We've shown our strength. Now we want to use that strength for the common good. Earth proposes joining our forces with the Galactic Defense Initiative. Our ships would patrol Council space. Our weapons technology would be shared with allied forces. Our production facilities would manufacture arms for mutual defense. In exchange for what? Vorik asked suspiciously. Full access to galactic technology archives, Alina said. Earth has focused on kinetic weapons because that's where our expertise lies. But we want to learn about energy shielding, faster-than-light drives, medical technology, and everything else the galaxy has developed. We offer our weapons knowledge in exchange for your scientific knowledge. A fair trade, Trell observed. Earth provides military strength, and the Council provides technological advancement. It's more than that, David added. We're offering a new approach to galactic defense. Right now, Council forces use standardized weapons and tactics. Everyone has plasma rifles, energy shields, and similar equipment. This creates predictable patterns that any enemy can study and counter. He brought up new displays showing various scenarios. But if you add Earth's kinetic weapons to the mix, suddenly the battlefield becomes unpredictable. Energy shields can't stop railgun bolts. Magnetic deflectors don't work against tungsten projectiles. We add a new dimension to Council military capability. He makes a valid point, the Mordak general admitted. Diversity in weapon systems makes forces harder to counter. There's another consideration, Patricia said. Earth is located in what you call the Outer Rim, far from Council core worlds. This means our forces can respond to threats from directions that traditional fleets don't cover well. We're positioned to be a first line of defense against anything coming from unexplored space. This caused murmuring among the delegates. The galaxy was vast, and even after thousands of years of exploration, huge sections remained unmapped. The possibility of unknown threats emerging from deep space was a constant concern. Earth is asking for significant access to Council resources, Vorik said. Technology archives contain thousands of years of research. How do we know you won't use this knowledge to become a threat yourselves? Patricia met his gaze steadily. You don't. You have to trust us, just as we have to trust you. That's what partnership means. Trust must be earned, countered a Chitauri ambassador. We've already started earning it, David said. 3 days ago, we demonstrated our most advanced infantry weapon. We didn't have to do that. We could have kept it secret. But we chose transparency because we want partnership, not confrontation. Furthermore, Alina added, Earth is willing to accept Council oversight of our weapons programs, will allow inspections, provide production reports, and coordinate our military development with Council guidelines. Complete transparency in exchange for partnership. The chamber fell silent as delegates considered this. It was an unprecedented offer. No major power had ever volunteered such complete military transparency. High Chancellor Mordrin spoke for the first time since opening the session. Earth offers strength and asks for knowledge. This is not an unreasonable proposal. However, it represents a significant shift in Council dynamics. We must consider carefully. How long will deliberations take? Patricia asked. The Council will vote within 1 week, Mordrin replied. Delegates must consult with their governments and military advisors. This is not a decision to make hastily. We understand, Patricia said. Earth will remain available to answer any questions during the deliberation period. As the session ended and delegates filed out, David noticed groups forming throughout the chamber. Some species were clearly in favor of Earth's proposal. Others seemed uncertain. A few appeared hostile to the idea of humans gaining full partnership status. "What do you think?" Alina asked quietly as they left the platform. "I think we gave them a lot to consider," David replied. "The demonstration proved we have the strength. This presentation proved we have the intelligence and diplomacy. Now we see if they're willing to accept us as equals." "Some of them will never see us as equals," Patricia said, joining them. "Species that have been spacefaring for millennia don't easily accept newcomers. But we don't need everyone's approval. We just need enough votes to pass the partnership agreement." "And if we don't get enough votes?" Alina asked. Patricia smiled grimly. "Then we continue as we have been, building our forces, developing our technology, and protecting our interests. Earth doesn't need the Council's approval to be strong, but partnership would be better for everyone." Commander Vorik approached, his delegation behind him. David tensed, unsure what to expect. The Sarkin commander had been one of their harshest critics. "Admiral Hill," Vorik said formally, "I want you to know that the Sarkin Empire will vote in favor of your proposal." Patricia's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Thank you, Commander. May I ask what changed your mind?" "Professional respect," Vorik replied. "You humiliated me during that demonstration. You proved that my assumptions about human capabilities were completely wrong, but you didn't gloat. You didn't demand apologies. You simply presented facts and offered partnership." He paused. That showed character. "The Sarkin respects strength, but we also respect honor. Earth has demonstrated both." He extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Patricia shook it firmly. "Thank you, Commander. We look forward to working together." As Vorik left, David allowed himself a small smile. If the Sarkin Empire was voting yes, other military powers would likely follow. Earth's gamble was paying off. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council voted to accept Earth's partnership proposal. The vote had been close, 62% in favor, but it was enough. Now David Reed stood in a place few humans had ever visited, the Council Military Research Complex on the planet Sanctuary Prime. The facility sprawled across hundreds of kilometers, housing laboratories, testing ranges, and production facilities from dozens of species. Here, the galaxy's best minds worked together to develop new defense technologies. And now, for the first time, humans were part of that effort. David walked through a corridor lined with workstations where alien scientists studied holographic displays. Some looked up as he passed, offering nods of acknowledgement. The initial suspicion that greeted Earth's arrival had faded, replaced by professional curiosity and, in some cases, genuine respect. He reached Laboratory 17, where his team was working. Inside, Alina Ross stood with a group of mixed-species engineers around a testing bench. On the bench lay a new weapon, a hybrid design that combined human kinetic technology with alien energy systems. "How's the integration going?" David asked, joining them. "Better than expected," Alina replied. She gestured to a Chitauri engineer named Rix. Rix figured out how to use Chitauri plasma generation to supplement the magnetic coils. "We're getting an extra 20% acceleration without increasing power consumption." Rix clicked his mandibles, and what David had learned was satisfaction. "Human railgun technology is remarkably efficient. Adding our plasma systems was simpler than anticipated. The magnetic fields interact with ionized gas in unexpected but beneficial ways. We're calling it a hybrid accelerator," added a Mordak researcher named Gresh. "It uses electromagnetic acceleration, like your railguns, but adds a plasma boost at the final stage. Preliminary tests show velocity increases of 23%. David examined the weapon. It looked like a railgun rifle, but with additional components built into the barrel and receiver. "Have you test-fired it?" "Not yet," Alina said. "We wanted you here for the first live test. Range 7 is prepared." They moved as a group to the testing range, a massive underground facility designed to safely handle weapons of any type. The target area could be configured for different scenarios, and safety systems could contain everything from antimatter explosions to gravitational anomalies. For this test, they set up a series of targets at increasing distances. Standard armor plates, energy shields, and reinforced barriers represented the kind of obstacles the weapon might face in combat. David loaded the hybrid rifle, feeling its weight and balance. It was slightly heavier than a standard railgun due to the additional plasma systems, but still manageable. The controls were intuitive, combining human interface design with alien technology. Charging capacitors, he announced. The familiar hum of a railgun powering up filled the range, but this time it was accompanied by a new sound, a high-pitched whine from the plasma generators. The weapon glowed faintly along its barrel as ionized gas filled acceleration chambers. All systems green, Alina reported from the control station. You're authorized to fire. David aimed at the first target and squeezed the trigger. The report was different from a standard railgun, sharper and accompanied by a flash of blue-white light. The projectile left the barrel surrounded by a plasma sheath, looking like a miniature comet streaking downrange. It hit the target with devastating effect. The armor plate didn't just break, it vaporized. The combination of kinetic impact and superheated plasma created destruction beyond what either system could achieve alone. Impressive, Gresh said, checking his instruments. Impact energy measured at 37% higher than a standard railgun of equivalent size. The plasma sheath also means the projectile can damage targets through near misses. Even if you don't hit directly, the superheated gas causes secondary effects. They fired several more shots, each one demonstrating the hybrid system's capabilities. Energy shields that could stop conventional railgun fire lasted only seconds against the hybrid weapon. Barriers that resisted plasma weapons cracked under kinetic impact. This could revolutionize infantry combat, Rix observed. The combination of human and Chitauri technology produces results neither could achieve separately. That's the point of this facility, said a new voice. They turned to see Ambassador Trell entering the range. The Chitauri diplomat had become Earth's strongest advocate on the council. To show that cooperation produces better results than isolation. Ambassador, David greeted him. We didn't expect you today. I came to check on progress, Trell replied, examining the hybrid weapon. And to bring news. The Council has approved expanded cooperation between Earth and member species. Your weapons technology will be shared with 7 additional civilizations. And in exchange, Earth gains full access to advanced shield technology, medical systems, and manufacturing techniques. That's excellent news, Alina said. There's more, Trell continued. The Council wants Earth to establish a joint training facility. Human soldiers would train alongside alien troops, sharing tactics and learning to work together. Earth's kinetic warfare expertise combined with traditional galactic energy weapon doctrine could create the most effective fighting force the galaxy has ever seen. David felt a surge of pride. 6 months ago, aliens had mocked the Crossbow demonstration. Now they wanted to learn from human military doctrine. We'll need approval from Earth Command, David said, but I can't imagine they'll refuse. There is one concern, Trell admitted. Some council members worry about Earth's rapid military advancement. You've gone from newcomers to major power in just 5 years. They fear you're moving too fast. Moving too fast to ensure our own survival, David countered. Every weapon system we've developed, every ship we've built, every soldier we've trained has been for defense. We're not conquerors, I know, Trell said gently, and most of the council knows this as well. But fear is not always rational. Some species remember their own histories, times when young civilizations rose quickly and became threats. They see parallels with Earth. What do you suggest? Alina asked. Patience, Trell replied. Continue building trust. Continue sharing technology. Show through actions that Earth wants partnership, not domination. Time will ease their concerns. Time and continued success, Gresh added. The Mordak had been listening carefully. Every joint project that succeeds like this hybrid weapon proves Earth's value as a partner. Every threat we face together strengthens our alliance. A priority alert sounded through the facility. Everyone tensed as emergency lights activated. A holographic display appeared, showing a system map with a red indicator flashing in the outer regions. What is it? David asked. Trell accessed the display, his antennae quivering as he read the data. Pirates. A large fleet has attacked a mining colony in the outer rim. They're hitting hard, overwhelming local defenses. How large? Alina asked. 40 ships, Trell replied grimly. This isn't a random raid. It's organized, coordinated. They knew where to hit and when. What's the response? David asked. The nearest council fleet is 6 hours away, Trell said. By then, the colony will be destroyed or captured. David made a quick decision. Contact Earth's third fleet. They're only 2 hours from that position. We can respond. Trell looked uncertain. This would be Earth's first major military action under the partnership agreement. Are you certain? This is exactly what we signed up for, David said firmly. Earth pledged to help defend Council territory. There's a colony under attack and we can help. That's all that matters. I'll authorize it, Trell decided. But understand the galaxy will be watching. This will be Earth's first real test. Within minutes, orders went out. Earth's third fleet, 15 capital ships and 30 support vessels changed course toward the embattled colony. Admiral Patricia Hill, who commanded Third Fleet, received full authorization to engage the pirates. David, Alina, and the others gathered in the facility's command center to watch events unfold. Holographic displays showed real-time data as Earth ships approached the combat zone. Third Fleet entering weapons range, a controller announced. Enemy ships are breaking off their attack to engage. The pirates had expected easy prey. Mining colonies had minimal defenses, but 40 pirate vessels, mostly converted cargo ships with added weapons, suddenly faced 15 Earth dreadnoughts designed specifically for combat. Third Fleet opening fire, the controller said. The dreadnoughts unleashed their mass drivers. 100-kilogram projectiles accelerated to orbital speeds crossed the distance in seconds. The first volley destroyed 8 pirate ships outright. Kinetic impacts tore through hulls that were never meant for real combat. Pirates returning fire, the controller reported. Energy weapons and missiles incoming. Earth ships had heavy armor specifically designed to resist energy weapons. Plasma bolts that would cripple most galactic vessels scorched the dreadnoughts' hulls but didn't penetrate. Missiles were intercepted by point defense railguns firing thousands of small projectiles. Second volley, the controller said. Another 12 pirate ships died as mass driver fire found its targets. The remaining pirates tried to flee, but they were too slow. Earth ships, despite their heavy armor, could accelerate quickly when needed. Third volley. Enemy fleet destroyed or surrendered. Combat complete. Total engagement time, 4 minutes, 37 seconds. Silence filled the command center. The alien observers stared at the displays in shock. Earth's fleet had just destroyed a force that would have taken hours for a traditional council fleet to defeat. And they'd done it in less than 5 minutes. The colony? Trell asked quietly. Safe, the controller confirmed. Minor damage from the initial attack, but Third Fleet arrived before the pirates could land ground forces. David felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Earth's first real combat action had been a complete success. But more importantly, they'd saved lives and protected Council territory. I think, Trell said slowly, that nobody will question Earth's value to the Council after today. They also won't question Earth's military power, Gresh added. That demonstration was even more impressive than your crossbow. David smiled slightly. The crossbow was just the beginning. We've been trying to tell everyone humans never abandon old ideas. We just make them better. Whether it's crossbows or battleships, the principle is the same. If it works, perfect it. Over the following weeks, the news of Third Fleet's victory spread across the galaxy. Suddenly, Earth wasn't just the species with interesting weapons technology. They were proven defenders, warriors who could back up their claims with action. More partnership offers came in. Species that had been hesitant now sought Earth's cooperation. Training programs expanded. Technology exchanges accelerated. The human approach to warfare, combining ancient concepts with modern physics, became a subject of intense study. And somewhere in the research complex, David and his team continued working. The hybrid railgun was just the beginning. They had ideas for dozens of other systems, each one combining human innovation with alien technology, because that was what humans did best. They learned, they adapted, and they improved. The crossbow demonstration had opened a door. Now Earth would show the galaxy everything that human ingenuity could achieve when given the chance.